Begin by taking 4 M3 by 45mm bolts, slide onto the bolt a M3 shake-proof washer and insert it into the Y-axis motor slot. Repeat that for all 4 of the bolts. Next, slide onto the screws an M3 washer, followed by a rubber damper, followed by another M3 washer, and repeat for the other 3 bolts as well. Next, take a NEMA 17 motor, remove the 4 screws from its base and attach onto this panel. Make sure you have the pin facing downwards. Next, use an Allen key to tighten down these bolts. Do not over tighten them just yet, as we will be adjusting this later. Finally, slide on a GT2 T20 pulley onto the motor shaft, like so. Again, don't need to tighten it down just yet, as we will be adjusting it later. Next, take the 455mm shaft, insert it into the hole on the left panel, slide onto it a GT2 pulley with the teeth facing the left. Next, slide on the T36 pulley, again with the teeth facing the left. Finally, slide on the GT2 T20 pulley with the teeth facing the right. Slide over that pulley the closed loop belt, like so, and push the shaft in all the way through until it sticks out the other side. Next, take a 688 ZZ bearing and slot it onto the drive shaft, like so. Next, clamp this bearing in place with the Y drive shaft tab. Fasten in place with 2 M3 by 14mm bolts. And fasten with 2 M3 nylock nuts on the other side. And repeat the same again over on the other side. Next, take the closed loop belt and loop it over the GT2 pulley on the motor. Push down on the motor to tension the belt, and then with the motor push down, can tighten these screws in a cross pattern to secure the motor in place and to keep the closed loop belt nice and tight. Next, we can tighten the grub screws on the pulley. Make sure that the grub screw is orientated with the flat part of the shaft. Next, we want to get the 2 pulleys aligned as straight as possible and tighten down the grub screws on the larger pulley. Next, we'll be assembling the Y idler, and we'll begin by inserting a M4 by 30mm bolt into the front left panel, followed by an acrylic spacer, followed by an M4 penny washer, followed by
an M4 washer, followed by a 624 ZZ bearing, followed by another M4 washer, followed by an M4 penny washer, and then sealed with a M4 nylock nut. We won't be threading this nut all the way down just yet. We will do that once the belt is on to tension it. And we'll repeat the same again on the other side.
Next, cut 1 meter of GT2 timing belt. Insert it into the slot on the idler like so, with the teeth facing upwards. Next, from underneath, insert an M4 by 20mm bolt with an M4 washer on it. Like so. Add an M4 washer onto the top and seal with an M4 nylock nut. Next, wrap the belt around the pulley on the drive shaft like so. And then around the loose idler, and then drop it in to the slot on the other side of the X idler. Fasten as before with an M4 by 20mm bolt with an M4 washer on it. Add another washer on top and fasten down an M4 nylock nut. Pull the belt in tight. Try and get it as tight as you can. And then hold the nut with a pair of pliers and fasten the bolt from the underneath. Finally, hold down the idler nut and tighten it down as far as it will go. Finally, the belt should be as tight as a guitar string. Trim off any excess with a pair of scissors, making sure, however, to leave about ½ an inch in case you need to make any adjustments to the belt. And repeat again on the other side. Finally, with the belts on tight on both sides, run the y-axis back and forwards a few times to ensure that the belts are straight with the 2 pulleys on the drive shaft. Once you're happy with them, tighten the pulleys down using an Allen key. Next, cut 1 meter of GT2 belt and push it in through the tool carriage like so until it comes out the other end like that. Take an M3 by 12mm bolt and thread it in through the tool carriage and through the nylock nut like so until it clamps on and secures the belt. With the belt now clamped onto the tool carriage on one end like so, take a GT2 pulley and slot it onto the NEMA 17's shaft. Take the belt, wrap it around the pulley, bring the belt around and wrap it around the X idler on the other side. Next, insert the M3 by 12mm bolt into the tool carriage, but allow there to be enough room between it and the belt so that the belt can still move. Take a pair of needle nose pliers and wrap the belt around it until it's tight, like so. And then tighten down the bolt with an Allen key, like so. Finally, with the belt tight, cut off any excess. Finally, align the grub screw on the X motor pulley with the flat part of the motor shaft and tighten against it firmly.
Take an end stop and the acrylic end stop spacer. Place it behind the end stop like so, and attach it onto the panel with two M3 by 12mm bolts and secure with two M3 nuts.